Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Hello guys, this is Emil, John and Jerry from the Physio Society at University of Essex.
Hi.
And so, the reason... Hi.
This is the news at 2.
Alright, take 2, 3, 2, 1. Hello guys, this is Emil, John and Jerry from the Physio Society at University of Essex. And today's video we wanted to talk a little bit about the placements and some general tips of what you can do on placement and on your further placements. So let's get started. And the first thing we wanted to talk about was...
So what to do before placement? So normally about 6 weeks beforehand, you'll get a message saying where you're going to be, who your educator is, and what their contact details are. So we'll just talk a little bit about how to prepare for your placement in those 6 weeks.
Yeah. So like the first thing really to do is really to contact your educator. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd say contact them as soon as possible. They'll always appreciate that, and it gives you a bit of time to kind of sort things out and work out how you're going to get there and what it's going to involve day to day. So yeah, just send your educator an email as soon as you can.
Yeah, and I'd say aside from that, also like whatever placement you're on, have like a basic understanding of that placement. So if you're like on MSK, know your basic pathologies. If you're on respiratory, know the basics like ACBT, the positioning, just so that when you go into placement, your first placement, you're going to be very nervous, so it's a lot to take in. But if you kind of like a head start and you kind of know how things are, how to do things, it's a bit easier to transition.
Yeah. So you can always ask your educator about like some recommended pre-reading, because most likely you did not do that placement before. It'll be something new. So always ask them simply, and they can give you some pre-reading on those essential pathologies and some basic anatomy that you can look at. So that will be like the first thing to do. Also, they will sort you out in terms of parking, any other questions, what to wear, where to turn up. So they are really your first line of the who to contact and your first line of help.
Yeah, and it's always good just to ask them a couple of questions about what things are like in the area that you're going to be in. Like what would a typical day be like, or what kind of patients do they see, just to show a bit of interest, and then that gives you a bit of time as well to think about the kind of conditions and treatments to revise.
Yeah. Another thing we wanted to touch on was kind of to make sure you look at those things and you understand them. However, don't overdo it.
No.
So the point isn't really to study a whole textbook and read all your lectures on the placement. It's really just to familiarize yourself with it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. They're not going to expect you to know everything, and you won't be able to anyway. So yeah, there's no point getting bogged down by reading loads and loads of things. Just try to have in your mind the kind of common pathologies and treatments and assessments that you're likely to come across, but don't worry too much, because you will learn a lot more when you're on placement anyway.
Yeah, it's a good chance to put what you learn in theory into practice. Because of COVID, you might be missing some bits of practical skills. However, this is what placement really can help you to bring up. It's gonna give you real patients with real problems, and you're gonna be there with your educators at all times, so there's no reason to be stressed or anxious, because if you have any questions, they're always there to support you.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say this, but try not to worry too much and don't be too nervous, because you won't be expected to have an encyclopedic knowledge of everything, and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've got to start somewhere. So
yeah,
don't spend all your time like trying to revise everything. In the first week, you're kind of finding your way around really, and that's your chance to get to know the whole team. So not just your educator, but all the other staff who are going to be there, including other students. And if you work in a hospital, get to know like healthcare assistants and therapy assistants, because they're really good.
Yeah, and usually you do end up sometimes needing their help. So if you're in their good books and you just get on with them quite well, they'll be more inclined to giving you a hand. Like a lot of placements, I went out, I took their advice and I literally went out, spoke to everyone, became friends with everyone. And when I needed help, when my educators weren't there, I often asked the HCOs and nurses, "Could you just help me just being double checking I'm safe and this and that," and they always helped me because I was just
We all been in the same situation.
Yeah.
So all nurses, all OTs or physios, they kind of went through the same things we do, so they understand how it is like.
Just try to get to know the team a bit. You know, if you have lunch breaks or any other time together, just try
get to know each other.
Yeah.
It's as important probably as being on a placement is making sure it's part of like your communication and teamwork. Make sure on the first week especially you talk to everyone, just say hello, say who you are so they're familiar, because they don't know you really when you start. You're like the new face and they don't really know what to expect, so it would be a good idea to just have a quick chat and introduce yourself, really. Get to know each other.
Yeah, and I think throughout the placement as well, if there are opportunities to work with as many different people as possible, that would be great. I know on some of mine I've spent some time with like some of the OTs and one of the nurses, and it's really good to get different people's perspective as well in the same area. So
yeah, you have other students, nurse students, OT students, medical students, and they all gonna be on a ward often working with you. So it's a good chance to not only share your experience, it's also a good chance to make friends and get to know each other.
Yeah, you'll probably find that everyone's got a slightly different way of working as well, like, you know, the way they talk to patients and write up their notes, it's all going to be a bit different, but that also gives you an opportunity to kind of find your way of doing things as well as you go along.
Yeah, so that was another thing we want to talk about, was that every place and every educator will be slightly different and will have slightly different expectations of what they would want you to do, and really the most important thing is coming with a mindset of accepting the feedback and making sure you do the best that you can, not trying to compare yourself to others. This is your journey and take it a step at a time, learning.
Yeah. And I think like one of the things you do in the first week when you speak to your educator is kind of going through like goal setting and talking about strengths and weaknesses. And I think it's really good to kind of be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses and communicate that to your educator, because they will support you if there's anything you're not quite confident on. But equally, you can kind of let your strengths shine through. So yeah, definitely really have it in your mind, you know, what your strong points are and what kind of things you need to work on as well.
Yeah, like, so for example, my first placement, I didn't do the best, but I learned so much about myself, like how I learn. Like, I realised when people tell me stuff, it takes a bit while for it to get into my head. So what I've done was, in my second placement, I carried a little notepad and literally everything I was just writing down. Whatever information they gave me, I'd write it down, so that I'll just look over and it just click into my head, because I realised I'm not someone that can follow instructions verbally. I have to be like written for me.
Yeah, notebooks are amazing. Definitely carry a notebook around and a pen.
Yeah, I used to write everything on my forearm, and then I would have a nice little tattoo all over it in my hand. And I also used to do like the notes, and I'm a big believer in making scripts. So I had a script of conversation for MSK outpatients, and I would write myself all the questions I needed to ask, the flow of the conversation. So you can always write it down for yourself, and I'm sure nobody will mind if you take a look or a peek and just refresh your memory, really, because we all forget things. We all forgetful.
If you need a prompt or just pad to kind of refer back on, that's absolutely fine. And you're not going to be able to remember absolutely everything. And that's fine. Like, you're not going to be expected to know everything from day one. And if there is anything you're not sure about, then always ask your educator.
Yeah, what Jerry said earlier is quite important, that you take the feedback on board, because at the end of the day, it'll be very different from person to person, and typically it's gonna be around your weaknesses. So as John said, if you communicate your weaknesses, then you can work throughout the placement to improve them and learn how to get certain things done in a certain way from people that do it better than you. So it's important that you realize what you need to improve on, and then accepting that feedback and working on feedback. There isn't a specific way to get higher grades, but if you want higher grades, then getting that feedback done, it shows that you're listening, that you're implementing what they say, and you're also getting better overall in general as a physio.
Yeah, and also like tell your educators about something that you've learnt, or even one of the other staff you're working with. Like they'll really love it if you say, I've done a little bit of reading on this, and this is what I've learnt. Like they really like it if you do a bit of reading, tell them something interesting or something new that you've learnt.
Yeah, some articles perhaps,
or podcasts.
Yeah,
anything like that.
Or just ask them. Everybody has like certain bits of physio they really enjoy, so you can find out what your educator likes, and then you can always ask about and pick their brains, and I'm more sure they'll be more than happy for you to have that discussed for a very long periods of time, especially if they're into it.
Yeah, definitely. You'll probably find that each person has got like different areas of interest, and if you find something they're interested in, then
we'll talk for hours. And you will learn a lot yourself. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, and I think also like if you've looked at the marking grid, it looks quite scary, but try not to focus too much on the marking grid. Like I think as Emma was saying, like listen to the feedback you get from the educator, and then
implement that. Most educators interpret the marking grid in their own way, and I'm pretty sure most of them don't even read it. So don't worry with every single detail. Like I would focus on the bits they tell you to improve. That feedback, that's the main source of the things that you're gonna need to work on.
Yeah, so you should have a meeting at the halfway point in your placement with your educator, and then that gives you a chance to have a proper sit-down discussion and go through how things are going, and then you get another kind of final review. But if you ever need to ask your educator, like how things are going generally, then do that, and definitely ask for feedback.
Yeah, that's probably like the best way to really go about it, is keep looking for things to improve, and if they don't tell you anything to improve, just keep reminding them gently every now and then, and asking, is there something I can improve? Is there something I can do better? So show that bit of initiative, and I'm sure they're gonna appreciate that as well. So you're not just standing there watching, you're also engaging with them and with the patient especially.
Yeah, and also it's good to kind of think and reflect on how things have gone. Like we have to do placement reflections anyway, but sometimes it's good to just maybe sit down and write a few notes, or do a video to yourself or something, just to kind of reflect on an experience that kind of stood out in your mind.
Yeah, you did a lot of reflections, didn't you, Jerry?
A lot, yeah.
Did it help you though?
Yeah, when you do mini reflection, like I can't, as I said before, I can't learn things straight away. It takes me a while. So I do the reflection and I think about it at home, and I'll be like, it makes sense now. And that's why eventually, towards the end of my third placement, I kind of became like independent, because in most placements, like the main thing they want is, aside from being safe, is you being as independent, because when you go into band 5, the main thing they want you is to be like autonomous. You can see case loads by yourself, like you can do things by yourself.
Yeah.
And where I was slowly kind of learning it, it was slowly clicked in, and by my fourth placement I was able to see most things by myself. I didn't need any supervision, so yeah, it does help.
It's a slow process, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the last bit we actually wanted to talk about was making sure you're prepared in terms of like accommodation and transport. And you can be sent to a lot of different places all around, and even if you have a car, it's always good to consider those things beforehand. Make sure you have a drive before you get there so you're not late. Make sure you plan your journey, and if you really need, I would say, if your journey will take over an hour, it might be a good idea considering accommodation of some sort, either at the hospital or Airbnb. Especially since you're getting your money back, it's worth to look at those options since they're available.
Yeah, I've had 2 community placements that have involved a lot of driving, and in both cases I found accommodation nearby, just because driving during the day and getting from there and home and back would have taken ages, and
Draining.
it would have been draining. So yeah, if you are quite a long distance away, then it might be worth trying to find accommodation to stay for those few weeks.
Yeah, some people travel very long times, but it's just gonna take time away from, just gonna make you more tired, less time to relax, less time to do any other bits or spend time with anyone else, and it's not really a good place to be. You're risking a chance of burning yourself out at that point.
Yeah, because especially the first week as well, you'll probably be quite tired in the evenings because it is so much to take in. So it's kind of expected that you will feel really tired and drained. So if there's anything you can do to kind of minimise, time spent travelling, then go for it.
Yeah, it takes me about a week or 2 normally to get adjusted to the schedule, and after that it gets better because you're so used to it. Did you find it similar, guys?
Yeah, but about the second week, it kind of all like
Clicks in a bit.
Yeah, and especially like if you've got a hospital placement as well, you've never worked in a hospital before. Just kind of sights and sounds and smells sometimes. It's just completely like different to anything you've experienced before. So
yeah,
it takes a bit of time to really to find your feet there. So
it never bothered me much, but I know a lot of people, when they first time see either like sputum or blood or feces, it can be quite scary for a lot of people doing that nursing, caring side of things.
Yeah, some places are really fast paced as well, so you'll be constantly on the go, won't have much time for a break. So that's why it's really important to give yourself time to unwind when outside of placement hours. Make sure that you have got time for yourself, and keep up a social life as much as you can. So make sure you stay in contact with your friends, and try to find a balance between working and doing the things that you normally do, because looking after yourself is important as well.
Yeah, it's no point if you're just gonna burn yourself out.
No.
And that'll be everything from us for today. So thank you guys for watching. Please like it and subscribe and share it with other people who might learn anything that we share with you today. And we'll see you in the next video. See you later.
See ya.